Hello and welcome to this Wednesday upload. My name's Nicola if you're new here. If you're not, welcome back. So today's fibro section is going to be all about how emotions and stress affect fibromyalgia. So welcome to this fibro section. Now if you can hear noises, it's because I've got my door open because it's quite warm and kids are off school, so I think there's a lot of old people that live around here, but I think they've got grandchildren in the garden or whatever, so if you can hear lots of shouting like that, I apologise, because that's what's going on. Right, and here we have the trusted notepad. Okay, let's crack on. So this is something that I really wanted to research because, as you know, with fibromyalgia, stress and emotions greatly affect our pain. This is going to drive me nuts, but we're just going to have to cope with it because I can't shout and tell them to shut up because they're not my kids. Right, okay, so people who suffer with a chronic illness are 3 times more likely to get depression. Stress is such a common instigator of flare-ups with fibro, as I said. I wanted to look more into our emotional brain and how it affects us. I do believe that once we are diagnosed with fibro, a lot of what has caused this dysfunction in our brains and spinal cord signals regarding pain is to do with stress and emotions, which is why it's so important to learn ways of coping with stress and expressing our emotions rather than trying to hide them and push them away. Apparently, people who have fibro are more likely to do just that, which makes our pain worse and all our symptoms we suffer with. Studies show that people with fibro are more likely to increase their negative emotions and decrease their positive emotions, also increasing their emotional avoidance strategies. I'm a classic example of all of that I've just said. It is not yet known exactly what causes fibromyalgia, but it is thought to be a severe infection or trauma, or both, like in my case. If you don't know what caused my fibromyalgia, I will link in the description my fibromyalgia story, so it will explain it all there. So don't think I am saying that fibro is just emotionally affected. As we know, many things can cause a flare-up and trigger our symptoms to become worse, like the weather and doing too much or not enough. They can all contribute to our flare-ups and our symptoms, but stress and emotions are such a major cause of flare-ups. I am very in tune with my body now, really in tune with it. So if I'm experiencing a stressful situation, or even a happy one, it doesn't have to just be stress, when the pain strikes, I know exactly why that pain has happened. So if I say, for example, if I've been experiencing severe stress with something in the family and I don't feel like I'm coping with it very well, and then say I get a really soaring bad pain in my arm, I will know exactly why I've got that pain. And I don't know if you get the same. Like if you can think, right, that's, you know, tapping into that emotion because that's my emotion coming out as pain. Living with constant pain and fatigue, not being able to focus, struggling financially can all lead you to become emotionally drained. A lot of people isolate themselves as they feel they cannot function properly and therefore causing depression of feeling alone. It all causes a massive repeating circle. Stress, emotions causing pain and fatigue, which in turn causes more stress and emotions. So it's just like this big circle. When stressed, the pain signals are sent through the central nervous system, the brain and spinal cord, which becomes more intense, known as centralized pain. This can be made worse by tensing our bodies, jaw clenching and unstabilised breathing patterns. I don't know if any of you relate to that. I certainly do. quite often I'll be driving and I get quite anxious when I'm driving, and I can feel that I'm literally tense like this, and sometimes clenching my jaw, and I'm like, right, just breathe, just breathe. So I am aware that I do that quite a lot. This change involves an amplified level of chemicals in the brain that signal pain. The brain's pain receptors develop a memory of that pain and become sensitized, meaning that it will overact to painful and non-painful signals. Does that make sense? Stress can weaken your body. Okay, so now we know how the emotions and stress affect our pain. What can we do about it? So I am going to go through a few ways of how we can cope with stress and emotions. But I also wanted to add, which I haven't written in here, I've been talking to a lady who's actually a subscriber on here about, if you didn't know, I have decided to quit alcohol for the time being because I was using it sort of emotionally and to numb the pain. So I decided, no, enough's enough, I'm going to stop. And I've been talking to this lady who's trained in alcohol therapy and things. And she's given me a couple of good ways of dealing with anxiety. And one of them is to find a square. It doesn't have to be exact square, it could be a rectangle, anywhere you are. So I've done this while driving, because I was going around the back of a van, or you could do the back of a car. And you're breathing in line with each line. So at first it might be like quite quick, but then you need to try and slow it down. So you're looking from one line and breathe in, looking for another one, breathe in, looking for another one, breathe out, and that sort of thing. So that's quite a good way of calming yourself down with anxiety. So I thought I'd share that one. My first suggestion before you say, oh, I've tried that, is CBT, which is cognitive behavioural therapy, or any form of therapy at all. So I believe that most people who have fibromyalgia have either suffered some kind of trauma in their lives or push their emotions down and away, like try and get rid of them because they don't want to feel them. And that causes more pain in our bodies. Now, I have had so many forms of counselling, as many of you will know, in my little life so far, and I am waiting for further counselling at the moment to cope with the loss of my dad. And I think counselling is the best thing. I really do. If you get the right counsellor for you and the right form of counselling, there's so many. I've had CBT, I've had art therapy, which was a bit weird and I didn't like it, so we quit that and stuck to talking. I've had many different forms of therapy, but I just believe that without that I wouldn't be where I am today, and that is able, on stage 4 of fibro, managing to live my best life as much as I can with fibromyalgia whilst coping with the symptoms. I do believe that therapy is so important because it's teaching you how to process your emotions and how to process trauma, past trauma that you've had in your life, which is so important because it just gets condensed and condensed and condensed, and that all has to come out somewhere, and it comes out in our pain. So it's really important. I am a classic example of trying to push your emotions away and ignoring them. An example for me is losing my dad this year, and I have so many emotions that I have not yet processed, not just about losing him, but also about our relationship, about things in the past, things that I have not wanted to cover during any of my previous therapies. And I know that a lot of my counsellors have said to me, oh, I wish we could have longer so we could go through your relationship with your dad. And every time I'm like, oh, thank goodness we haven't got any longer because I don't want to deal with that. But since he's passed away, I feel like I need to deal with that, and I need to go through all those emotions, and I genuinely think it's going to help me with my pain. So that's why I'm waiting for the counselling for that. I find, as you probably can hear, that I am very passionate about people who have fibromyalgia getting the right therapy that you need for you. And in my past, I have been referred to therapy by my GP, my doctor, and I've also paid for private counselling too. So I've had both forms, both equally as good. But ask your GP, your doctor, who would suit you best, or you can research it yourself. You can research like different forms of therapy and counselling, and you will find what is right for you. I wish that every time someone is diagnosed with fibromyalgia, they automatically get a block of counselling. Like, whether you want it or not, you're given it, because I think that is the most important thing with fibromyalgia, is to learn how to deal with your emotions. It's so important, and I think if that could happen on the NHS in the UK, I know it's different abroad, but in the UK, if that could happen, you're diagnosed with fibromyalgia, you automatically given, here we go, you're going to have these sessions of counselling and figure out which counsellor would be best for that person. I think it would help so many people, I really do. I've also made a video on all my counselling experience, so I will link that in the description for you in case you haven't watched that. Other ways to help ease your stress is by looking at your lifestyle. Do you sleep well? Who sleeps well with fibromyalgia? The only reason I sleep well is because I take my medication before I go to sleep at night, which is nortriptyline, and that helps me to sleep. I don't always sleep well. I have nightmares that wake me up. I have pain that wakes me up. I don't think there's anybody with fibromyalgia that can say that they sleep really well every night. I think it is a problem for most of us. So we need to improve our quality of sleep. I've also made a video on sleep. I will attach that in the description. It's just looking at ways. Don't just watch my video, watch other people's videos. Watch different ways on helping you how to have a good night's sleep and improve your sleep. Do you mainly eat healthily, or do you eat a lot of processed foods, which is high in sugar and fat? I'll tell you, for one thing, I had a flare-up this week, and it was so bad. It was one of the worst flare-ups I've had in a long time, and it's still making me very tired now. And I crave sugar so much when I'm on a flare-up. So much. I'm going to look into that, I think, as well, because I really do crave it, and I try to resist it. But what I do instead, I have like a Coke Zero or a Pepsi Max, because it feels like I'm having sugar even though I'm not. I try and trick my brain a little bit. But yeah, do you eat healthily most of the time? We can't say we eat healthily all the time, because I don't think there's probably a handful of people that do. I think everyone, you know, can say that they have the odd treat, and you know, but it's how you eat most of the time that's important, you know, getting your protein and your vitamins into your diet. Do you gently work out regularly? I'm saying gently because I'm saying not jumping around going to the gym. I mean, some people do. Some people with fibro do. They work out regularly at the gym. You know, I don't know how they do it, because I couldn't. I think you should look at Say Yes to Next on YouTube. They are very good at coming up with workouts that are accessible for us, because they can be done seated or standing up. You could look at seated yoga on YouTube to do at home. Just get your chair, your dining room chair or any chair, stuck in front of the telly or your phone, and copy along with some of the workouts that they do. If I do a workout, I always look up gentle or for beginners or easy. That's the workouts I'm trying to say. Now, I do realise it's not always possible. So this week, I don't believe I've done one yet. No, because I had the flare up on Monday. I usually try to aim to do 2 to 3 workouts a week. And I'm hoping to do one tomorrow because I haven't been able to fit one in yet this week because of the flare up I've had. So if you do have a flare up, then I don't expect you to be working out 2 to 3 times a week. I'm saying just keep moving gently, stretching, that sort of thing. This is what's important. Exercise releases those good old endorphins, which are the body's natural pain relief. So we want to release those, as well as doing exercise to release the endorphins. Do things that you enjoy doing. So it might be a favourite hobby. If you can't do that hobby anymore, try and do something else. So I used to love performing on stage, but I can't do that anymore. So instead I joined a local choir, or I put musicals on Alexa and sing my heart out, and I get all that shiver and shudder you get through your body. That's your endorphins. You like the goosebumps, with the hairs standing on end. That's your endorphins being released, and that's what we want, because we want natural pain relief as much as possible. So do things that you enjoy doing. Watch something. Watch a box set of things that you really enjoy doing, which you really enjoy watching. Listen to your favourite music. Listen to a favourite podcast. Do things to release those endorphins. Now, my sister taught me something as well about the circle of control recently, and because I was getting very stressed out, and she said, right, have you ever heard of the circle of control? And I said no. And so she drew me a diagram, and in the middle are all the things that you cannot control, and on the outside are things that you can control. So the things that you can control and the things that you can make a change, you can do that. So that's fine. That's what you need to do. That's what you need to focus on. The things in the middle of what you cannot control, you can't get stressed about that, because you can't control it. It's out of your hands. It's out of your control. So it's all about asking yourself that question. Can I do something about it? No. Right. Stop worrying about it then. Stop stressing about it. It's out of your control. And it's also that phrase, isn't it? This too shall pass. I use that a lot. So when I've been through really stressful times with the family, and I've sat there and sobbed, and I'm like, okay, this will pass. This isn't going to last forever. This is going to pass. It's the same with the flare-up. Your flare-up's not going to last forever. It will go at some point, whether that takes days, weeks, months. It will go. And it's just saying that in your brain. This too shall pass. So write in the comments how you deal with your emotions and stress in a positive way. How you stay positive. I also was taught by one of my counsellors to turn every negative thought into a positive one. Now that's a really hard thing to do, and recently I've got quite bad at doing that. I've become a bit more negative thinking, so I have to stop myself and turn those negative thoughts into positive ones. And it is hard, but you can do it, and the more you practice that, the better and easier it will become for you. Anyway, give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe for future videos. I make regular fibro sections as much as I can. If there's anything you would like me to research about fibromyalgia, leave it in the comments below and I will do my best for you, because the doctors and the professionals don't know as much as we would like them to. So that is why I research everything myself, because I find out so much more. Anyway, take care of yourself and I'll see you all on Saturday for the weekly. Bye!